Hey, this is Chris and Les Jake, and if InRavio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Welcome to our Masters of Destruction, Masters of Disaster episode of Nerdgasm. How do you like our new setup? Because we like changing things up every week or so. We like keeping you on your toes. I'm your host, Dave Campfield, and apparently I sit like a woman. Look, we're all synchronized sitting, right? I have to just move my foot like this. Oh, again with the White Sox. When will I ever remember?
I don't understand.
When will I ever remember not to wear White Sox on the show? It's so embarrassing. Well, anyway, do you know who we have with us tonight? We have the spectacular Ionese sisters right here. We got the Lovely Jojo. And we have some random music just appearing out of nowhere. So we have the Lovely Jojo joining me. She's my everything. And her sister, she's okay too. So, your sister of Jojo, what's your name?
Alessandria.
Alexandria. I only know you as Sandra.
Wow, that's my stage name.
Content tonight. Do you know what inspired the topic of tonight's episode? The fact that Into the Storm is coming out in the theaters in 2 weeks, or as Matt Control Room called it, Twister 2. So no, that is, the disaster film genre has been in existence for, I think that, I was doing some research on it tonight, for tonight's episode, and it dates all the way back to 1901. And it was an English 1901 movie called Fire, silent film portrayed an escape from a burning house. So, and then in the years that followed, you wound up having films involving the sinking of the Titanic, the Atlantis, Noah's Ark, massive tidal waves, the Great Chicago Fire, and earthquakes. The biggest case in point is a 1936 drama called San Francisco, which starred Clark Gable, and it depicted the historic 1906 San Francisco earthquake. That's the earthquake. We still don't know how many people got killed in the 1906 earthquake. The estimates are anything from thousands to like million. But what's fascinating when you look at that film from '36, you had all of the precursors to the disaster movie of today, the intermingling dramas between the characters, a lot of different character interaction, and a sequence in the end which was so far ahead of the time. The mass destruction, the effects were great for '36. So if you're curious to see where this genre began, check out the 1936 Gable film, which was also nominated for some awards. Then, continuing along our history, after a period of outer galactic destruction in the 1950s, the genre hits its golden age in 1970 with the release of Airport, which scored somehow 10 Oscar nominations and even won Best Supporting Actress for Helen Hayes. Spawned 3 sequels, a bunch of other 70s disaster films. The genre died until resurrected by Roland Emmerich's Independence Day. We're not going to cover Independence Day today because we just did a few weeks ago. That's right. But it revitalized the genre of films like Daylight, Volcano, Dante's Peak, Titanic, Deep Impact, Armageddon, Perfect Storm, Core, Poseidon, based on the original Poseidon Adventure movie, which is also a disaster movie, all came out in the wake of Independence Day. So, that's the setup for tonight's episode. But we have a special announcement for you, which I'm going to read to you, say to you, whenever that's ready. And it's apparently big news. The InRavio.com TV network is proud to unveil that we have partnered with the Dish Network, Xbox 360, Roku, Netflix. The broadcast InRavio shows on their networks to over 160 million homes, as well as broadcast their content on InRavio. So look for us there in the upcoming months. Isn't that spectacular? We have just broadened our visibility. You have to now tune in on different platforms. That is excellent news. So, girls, this week, first of all, because this is a disaster-themed show, I decided to wear this shirt because it's disastrous.
I was wondering that, actually.
Yeah.
I like the cassette tapes.
Well, I was really looking for 8 tracks, but they weren't selling that. Now, our friend of this program, James Christopher, who was on our Rocky episode, was on the way to his editing booth and wiped out and re-injured his old Army injury. So he had his own disaster. That brings us to our question of the week. Can we bring up the question of the week logo?
Oh, it's got a rainbow.
How cute.
Girls, my question for you is name the most horrible injury you've ever had. Let's start with you, Jojo.
Well, I haven't ever broken any limbs except for my little index finger here. But that's not as funny as how I injured my neck.
Oh, how interesting. I think I'm involved in this story, actually.
I was planning a party for my friend Carl and Greg. They were going away. And I figured, oh my God, here's a perfect opportunity to throw a huge party, which I did at my bar.
Huge
And
Party,
thought,
that's our middle names. Josephine Huge Party, I need
Yes, I've come to terms with it. So, I wanted to do a little something different. So I thought, how about Jello wrestling?
Yeah, fun.
I went to Target and I got a inflatable king-size mattress and a kiddie pool. And me and my boss, over a 12-hour period of time, created about 50 gallons of Jello, which sat in the walk-in.
Yep, 50 gallons.
50 gallons, well, approximately, give or take a gallon. And I had...
When I tell the story, I say it's 150, just for emphasis, and a little more interesting.
It was like 4 or 5 of those those big Tupperware, like the really big Tupperwares, like half full, because we could only fill them halfway before we couldn't move them anymore. So I had hired some girls to wrestle each other and, throw my friend into the pool one at a time. And they didn't show up.
Hours late.
And this one is like, where are the wrestlers? Where are they? Are we
mean,
going to see a show? What's going on?
Huge scene.
Yeah, and I got to the point where I was like, can it, or it's going to be you in there. And she...
How long ago was this?
13
years ago. Okay.
Keep in mind,
yes,
this is over a decade and we were young and stupid.
Young and very stupid. Very stupid.
It's like, go on. So I called up to confirm, and no girls. So Sandra comes over, where are the girls at? And I said, me and you.
She said, you're going in. You want to make a scene? You're going in.
So she turns around and goes, shots.
5 of them.
She's like, Patron, Soco, Patron, Soco, Patron. I'm ready.
Actually, no, we were 21. Just
Actually, no, I was 21.
I was 21 too. We're really twins. What?
That's right. She was 21 too. Absolutely. So, Jell-O doesn't roll off your skin like you think it might. It's sticky and it was cold, and we both got in it after they turned the jukebox on and started putting on songs for us to wrestle to. And we go, they're like, all right, go for it. And I didn't really want to hurt her, and she literally lunged at me, and I'm just trying my hardest to stay above Jell-O, and I was like, oh my God.
She tried really hard.
It was about 5 minutes. I was able to stay in there, and I was like, all right, I'm not getting Jell-O on this. So I got out, and I couldn't crack my neck for about a year after that. So that was pretty intensive.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I got you good.
Thanks, Sandy
I
Rara.
got you good. All those years of aggression, I was like, can I get them out now? I was like, yeah, your face. She's
And I'm like, no! Like, you're not going to defeat me.
I got you good. That's right.
All right, Sandra, I'm going to say it's your turn now to hear your... You didn't get injured, so you're not going to
No,
repeat
I
this
didn't get it. I came out and I was like, woo!
Yeah.
Winner, chicken dinner.
So now tell us about your great injury story.
Okay, so I was in Montauk for about a week on vacation with some friends, and I was a little frustrated one night, and so me and my girlfriend were just sitting there, and we were just all kind of hanging out in this one little room, and I was getting more and more frustrated as the night went on. So Jameson and picklebacks became my best friend, and I decided to just hang out, and I was staring at my friend, and she's staring at me, and she looks at me and she just says, "Do you want to fight me?" And I said, "Bring it on." What was I thinking? I don't know. I wasn't really thinking too much. But mind you, me and this girl used to take kickboxing classes together. So, we were used to play fighting or whatever. But for some reason, I was really angry this night. I had a lot of aggression built up inside of me, and I just, after the flip-flops were flying off, and our sweatshirts were on the couch, and we're like, okay, and then
She's like, yeah, what? Let me get my earrings up.
I'm like, shh. I'm like getting the Vaseline on my knuckles, I'm like getting ready to throw down, and we went at each other, and I was like, Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna take this girl down. I'm taking down. She's a lot smaller than me too, so I was kind of not playing really that fair. I guess I was doing that to you too. So I remember, when we were little, and the neighbor used to teach us how to do the, that move, that karate move. Mm-hmm. You swipe them down, right? So you just take them out from their knee. And I remember this. So he always said, if anyone's ever attacking you, you just swipe them out. So I was see her, and I'm like, oh, boom! And I just got her down on the ground, and I had her down, and she's like, what are you doing, you crazy person? You're psycho! And I said, aha. So then, I get up, and then again, I took her down, and I just boom! I was like, I got you again. And, but this time, I have her pinned down to the floor, and she goes to get up, and now she's angry. So now she goes to roll over, and and she just rolls over me like that, and then my pinky toe and this bone right over here just went, and I was like, ah! And then she pops up, and she gets up, and she's like, oh yeah? She's like, you think you won, but look at who got hurt. And I was like, oh, I can't move. And she's like, oh, you really can't move. Ooh. And that's how I broke my foot.
What's amazing is that all of our stories about injuries relate to wrestling. I should have saved this question for our wrestling episode.
Yeah.
Now, mine isn't quite as sexy as exciting as yours. Mine's really dorky. I was in 7th grade.
Really fancy that.
And I'll talk to you later, mister. So I was in 7th grade, and why am I so bright? Leave me on the monitor. So I was picked on by a lot of different kids, and my mother thought the prudent thing to do would be to enroll me in wrestling, which is, if you have an unathletic kid, exploit his complete lack of athletic ability. So I'm in there and I'm doing awful. I'm 2 days in. I'm just making a fool of myself. I'm trying, but it's not what I'm designed to do. It's like wrestling. You can't just push people over and smack them and all that kind of stuff. You need control. You need athletic ability. And so now 2 days in, and my teacher is yelling at me. My coach is just embarrassing me. All of the kids, the 30 kids in this class, are rolling out this long mat, the length and the width of the room. So pushing it all out, and suddenly I get a little ahead of myself, and you imagine a line of 30 kids pushing out unrolling one mat, and my hand gets caught under, and they roll it over, and I feel my hand, my arm do things that it's not supposed to do. I feel it roll up like a croissant, and I'm yelling stop. And everybody's laughing at me. I'm like, you guys just freaking injured me. And they didn't realize how bad it was. So I'm sitting in the locker room, my hands pretty much flopping off my wrist right here, and I'm weeping, and my coach decides at that moment in time to cut me from the team. Because he thought that would really be the best time. He could have said, Dave, you're injured, you're not going to be able to be on the team anymore. I'm so sorry, try next year. He said, look, I don't think this is working out for you. I'm like, dude, that just thing, my hand is not attached to my wrist anymore. Oh, you should probably get that checked out. Yes, I should.
And don't come back to the wrestling team.
But the good news is when you're a kid who doesn't fit in with the rest of everybody else and you got a cast, it's a new weapon. Hey, Campfield, how about I take your lunch money? Yeah?
What?
I was suddenly RoboCop for a few weeks. They couldn't get me. And they didn't want to hit you back because they knew you were injured. But I had armor. But
That's great.
so now I got to mention a couple of things from the chat room. And that is, all of a sudden, Timmy Packer says, all of a sudden, I think you should have a JLo wrestling episode.
Well, I'm already wearing pink, so it wouldn't affect me that much.
I usually got the prestigious, why did you even bother to show up award on sports teams? You guys are my soulmates in this chat room. So I'll tell you what, we're going to be heading out to commercial. When we come back, we're going to be discussing the 2 Roland Emmerich editions of disaster movies. We're taking on Day After Tomorrow in 2012. So stay tuned, come on back, we got a lot of show in front of us. Thank you for tuning in.
InRavio.com. For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, this is Chris and Jake, and if InRavio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Transmission of lice occurs from being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Like catching a cold or a flu.
You have guaranteed peace of mind in every bottle of Got Lice because all of our products are completely natural.
And organic.
But strong enough to cover all your lice removal needs while being safe and effective. Our professional technicians are specially trained with our exclusive proven technique to successfully comb out head lice. We come right to your home at your convenience.
Whenever you want us.
We bring everything needed to perform a successful and complete comb out while eliminating your head lice. And we leave you with our exclusive complimentary products to use for the next 10 days following our treatment.
For free.
Our technicians also check all family members who have been exposed to lice. Please visit us on our website today at gotlice.co or feel free to call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 646-257-0121.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com. InRavio.com.
Welcome back to Dave-gasm. I'm your host, Nerd Campfield, right? Let's reverse that. So now we're going into the Masters of Disaster section of the show. You know, for whatever reason, guys, girls, everybody in the chat room, you two over there, why is it that I personally love disaster movies. I love seeing things blow up, but not in real life because that's really depressing.
That's scary.
Yeah, in real life, it's like, oh my God, that's a tragedy. In movies, it's like, wow, that was great. It doesn't make so much sense. So what is it about us that enjoy watching things blow up like mad? You know, because I was revisiting a lot of these movies in the last few days, and I get this like thrill. I mean, I happen to really like disaster movies. And, but also in revisiting these movies, I noticed that Roland Emmerich, who was the director of Independence Day, Day After Tomorrow, and 2012, also known as the Master of Disaster, has a paradigm, if we could throw it up on screen. I'm going to explain my theory on Roland Emmerich films. All of these films, if you look in the upper left, I'm Professor Dave right now, have a scientist/action hero, the guy who knows better than anybody else. He's like, listen, I don't know why no one's listening to me, but the world's going to explode. And then he tries telling the reluctant president, either played by Bill Pullman, Riptide Guy, or Danny Glover, that they have to do something about it. But he's cock-blocked by the jerky naysayer. No, you can't do that. Look above. The jerky naysayer is either, that guy that's in a million films, always playing the jerky naysayer. You got the vice president in the case of Day After Tomorrow. You got Oliver Platt in 2012. Now, who intercedes in the story all the way left is the relatable action hero. He's not as smart as the scientist, but he's the relatable action hero, played by Will Smith, Jake Gyllenhaal, or John Cusack. And they're just trying to have some kind of relation with their family. They're trying to get to safety. They're trying to, they're the action hero that you understand. That's not talking above your intelligence level. Now, also factoring in, if you follow it down this way, is the crazy guy. The crazy guy is Randy Quaid, also related to Dennis Quaid up there, coincidentally. And you have Woody Harrelson in 2012, and there was the crazy homeless guy, and they always have something to offer. They're like, they're this plot. They help move the plot forward, but they match the same kind of level of eccentricity. They give you information that you need to know, but they're totally out there. And in the middle of this, let's start the back up. In the middle of all of this, you have the obligatory spouse, because Roland Emmerich has no idea how to write any woman that does something beyond "you'll be okay, honey." and in which the action hero or the scientist says, "Hang on, honey, we're gonna be fine." She offers, they do not offer anything to the plot other than looking kind of pretty. That's it. And what ties them all together, is this is like looking in a mirror, the soap opera drama. Because they all have soap opera drama. It's either Jeff Goldblum talking to the president. I thought he had something with my wife. Well, I'm not sure if he did, but I smacked him back, Dad. Smacked him back then, right before he was president. I didn't know he was going to be president, but I smacked him. No, thought he was macking it with my wife. He wasn't macking it, And then, so
I thought I had an espresso before.
You know, right?
So there's that. They all dramas. They all have this kind of hokey drama, like Jake Gyllenhaal and the girl, Dennis Quaid and the wife. Those are both in The Day After Tomorrow. There's definitely the drama between the president and the whole lot of, in 2012, John Cusack's daughter is still wetting the bed. He's got to deal with them. There's all of this kind of silly, obligatory soap opera, as I call it, soap opera drama in these movies. But you know what? I don't care. I like them. So here's my take on the films of Roland Emmerich. We were watching them last night. We were watching Day After Tomorrow. I hadn't seen that for a long time. So I caught up on these two films by Roland Emmerich. And by the way, to quote, we had Kirsten Warren on a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about Independence Day. And I asked, what was Roland Emmerich like to work with as a director? Was he does he give you instructions? Does he tell you, does he tell you about your character? She pretty much said, a good director knows how to cast, which means no. So here's some of my thoughts on Day After Tomorrow. First of all, the score by Harold Klosser is epic. It really elevates it. It's a wonderful score. I think that's what really put him back on the map. And a film like this is so dependent on something that sets the tone. Coincidentally, Harold Klosser, the composer of this film, went on to be the co-writer on 2012. I don't know how that happened. Maybe the Roland Emmerich is like, I really like the way you score on movies. Let's write something together. Too much of the film does feel like a global warming PSA. It's sort of like you feel, I'm all for meaning in films, but it does feel like they're on their soapbox a little too much. Oh my God, global warming is solely, it's making tape no longer a fix. A disaster. What a disaster.
It's a disaster.
I'm melting.
So Randy Quaid, Dennis Quaid is not perfectly cast in this. He's good. The moments when he's father and son, work well, but the moments when he's watering his plants, it feels like it's not him. The better bet would have been someone like Jeff Goldblum, but he had already played this character a few years earlier, back in Independence Day, with his father rather than his son. I think that, what's important is the set pieces are wonderful. The character piece is acceptable. I think of all of the films that they've done, the character stuff, I think, maybe works the best. The father-son, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Dennis Quaid. I think that's probably the best stuff that they did in the disaster movies. I think that's the most heartfelt and real. I thought they were good together. And the film is very well made. I'll say the same thing about everything. All of the ones that we've talked about, the Roland Emmerich films, is that they're well made, they're well constructed, good use of camera, good use of, there's a scene when the kids are coming into the city and the birds are all flocking away. The shot for shot, scenes without words that kind of tell you all. And you can tell Roland Emmerich is a filmmaker that has a love of the craft, except for when he did Godzilla. What the hell is that? By the way, do you notice that in 20th Century Fox movies, the only news reports are from Fox News? Gee, I wonder why that is.
Strange coincidence.
I guess it's advertising for the company, So in the Independence Day, we had the destruction of all famous iconic imagery. Here we have the Hollywood sign, also the Statue of Liberty getting destroyed. But I am talking, and obviously the Vice President and President are based on Bush and Cheney. That is very entertaining, although they kind of one-dimensionalize them. That's okay. One last qualm I'm going to throw over to you lovely ladies. They have all of these special effects that look terrific, yet they cannot master the art of making CGI breath look real. Every time someone's talking and there's a cloud of fake CGI breath in front of them, I question myself. People got paid, that scene cost them $20,000, and I could tell it's fake breath. Meanwhile, you just destroyed the Statue of Liberty, and I believed it. So, I give the film, it slows down in the last part of it. Because I forgot that. In revisiting it, I'm like, wow, this film kind of get a little bit boring in late act 2. I'm like, sort of looking at Sandy and looking at Jojo, and they're both kind of, dozing off, where they're like, at that point in the film. So I give the film, I'm like, I'm not going to trash talk these films. These are well-made disaster films. They're hokey, but they're good. They're entertaining. Mission accomplished. I give it a 7 out of 10. Let me pass it over to you, girls. I got to hear your thoughts.
I liked it. I mean, I feel like I liked it more than I thought I was going to like it by rewatching it last night. So it's kind of, I never saw the beginning, which, little things I never really noticed before. Like the guy in the beginning that was like lying to his wife about, being at the office, and he was really at the bar drinking his sake shots. and then out of nowhere, these big blocks of ice come down, boom, he's like, ugh, and then that's it.
And then he dies.
And then he dies. I was like, that's it, done.
Note to self, liars die.
Don't lie to your wife and say that you're going to the bar.
Right, it's a lot of foreshadowing, because later on in the film, there is a guy who's supposed to be working, and he is fooling around with some blonde. And which I think is a little silly, because they're literally watching the tornado come at them, and they stay in the room instead of going further into the building, which is like, duh. But again, they end up dying.
Yes, because they weren't doing their job.
Sinners equal death.
They were supposed to be doing their job, and instead, no. So
yeah,
that was one thing that we noticed, right? about them.
And I'm a little bit more detail oriented as far as like after the one journeyman on their way walking to New York, sacrifices himself so that the rest of them don't die. Later on, the next scene is the kid that they're with emptying out the backpack, and there's 3 cups. And then he looks at Dennis Quaid and realizes they just have this like really solemn, quiet moment. And he takes the 1 cup of their third companion, and puts it away. Just kind of mourning him, I guess, at that moment. I guess what I also like about this movie is that they make it very simple. I don't mind that it's a PSA for global warming, because we're all going to die of global warming. And we need to, really buckle down and recycle and do anything that we can to,
Well, it's one of the things that Jojo and I have in common. It's just like when I first spent time with her, I was noticing, she's very keen on recycling and all that stuff. So I like the fact that they have an environmental message. Bush and Cheney, who this film more or less lampoons, you could say, were not really environmental people, didn't believe much in global warming.
Right, it's price versus consequences, and it's all about,
But they did, the film does make them, I'm all for dimensional characters, and it does kind of simplify them a little too much. Say what you will of Bush, say what you will of Cheney. They were probably more dimensional behind the scenes than they appear on camera in the way that this film portrays them. Sandy, what was going through your head as you were watching this film? Tell me some of the things that you liked, hated, despised, loved.
I loved that Jake Gyllenhaal got the girl. That's right. He's so cute.
He's really cute.
He's so cute.
He's so cute.
So that is, always. It's always like it's always a chase. It's always the disaster movies always have something to do with a romantic scenario where the guy wants the girl and the girl wants the other guy, and then suddenly the guy who, the second guy who likes the girl just kind of gives her up and says, "Why don't you go talk to her?"
Yeah, because that's what happens.
That's really what happens. Yeah,
Right, that's one of the things I was complaining about last night is it just seemed inauthentic when it came to certain things. And
Right.
it becomes obligatory.
In
It's
a perfect world, that would happen, but not.
Yeah,
in
that
real
guy's like, dude, I don't think she likes you. She,
Did you see her staring at me during the competition?
I think she's a gold digger.
when,
you have no chance.
Right. When I was in the broom closet before and she wasn't around, I'll tell you what's up. You better go outside in the cold, man, because the rest of your life's gonna be hell. So yeah, I think the character dynamics ring a little false sometimes.
Yeah,
But scale of 1 to 10. Scale of 1 to 10. What do you give it?
I would give it an 8. I enjoyed it. But it was one of those disaster movies where, as opposed to 2012, where they're kind of hiding from the disaster
Right.
as opposed to chasing after it like they...
We're running to a different place.
Right.
I was pointing out last night that the film felt much more sedentary than, say, Independence Day or 2012, where they're constantly on the move, whereas this one is sort of like, we're safe here. Now, let's kind of hang out and burn some books and talk about Nietzsche. And by the way, the conversation about Nietzsche is really, really false. I don't know, like, how, there's tacked on conversations. These films do not have to be as long as they are. I don't care, they're fun. What do you give it, Jojo?
I would say 7.5.
Okay. 8, 7.5, 7. Now
I'll take your 7.5 and I'll raise you 9.
Before we move on to 2012, is there anything else you want to offer to this discussion about the afternoon?
I guess there was just like a couple of like really cute little moments that I really liked because again I'm detail oriented. When he gets out of the freezing water and she's like, he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, we have to warm you up first.
Yes.
And he has this little snarl like in the corner. He's like, okay, and I'm like, that's classic Gyllenhaal. Like I swear he would probably do that in real life, and that just made like really believable. That one part where he's talking about how his teacher flunked him, and he's like, well, why would he flunk you? Because you're smarter than the teacher. And he's like, well, what did he say? And he's just like, he flunked me. Like,
He went into because he didn't need paper to write the question on.
Right.
That he figured that the teacher failed him because he didn't like the fact that he was the smartest.
Yeah, and
but I was going to say that you're right, that these character moments seem to ring the truest in this film versus the rest.
Yeah, like my favorite true moment is when the one guy thinks he could throw money at any problem. Throws $100 at the bus driver. I wouldn't hear of it. Just you're not in service. Wait, no, you are. Here's some money, and of course and guys like that end up dying.
Timmy Packer says, so I'm no Jake Gyllenhaal. Big whoop. Then again, Jake Gyllenhaal's no Timmy Packer.
That's right, Timmy Packer. He is not you.
So it is time. We're going to move on to 2012.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to try to get through this thing fast because we got a commercial break coming up. 2012, I rewatched it. How well do you remember the film?
I remember it pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's some of my observations that I had today. What the hell is up with Danny Glover? He's so awkward and inauthentic. Yeah. I mean, he's a good actor. See, he's more of like a blue collar kind of guy. I'm getting too old for this. Like that kind of role. I buy him as he's got like certain kinds of characters. But as a president, you don't cast Danny Glover as a president. This is the same way that you don't cast Channing Tatum as the president.
He tried to take off his shirt, flipping around. It would just be awkward.
That would make such a better movie.
I would enjoy that.
I would too.
I'd like that.
It's better
I
paced.
think a lot of people would like that.
It's better paced and it's more exciting, I think, than Day After Tomorrow. It's the focus. It's better paced. It's better. Okay, I have to take my shirt off here. Okay. It's better paced than Day After Tomorrow. I think that it has a really good flow to it. I think that the plot threads and the way that the story flows is very good. And it's more organic. You have a limo driver that starts off with a scientist. You cut to the limo driver who has a knowledge of the subject of the story matter. He's dropping off some rich, snotty kids who happen to drop a little hint that there's something deep happening. And the way that the story unfolds, I think, has maybe the nicest flow of it. I'm not saying it's the best of the trilogy of Destruction, but I think it's possibly written the best. Danny Glover, and just to point out, he's no Morgan Freeman as president. Morgan Freeman made a hell of a president. Danny Glover, Sorry, man. I just couldn't vote for you. If it was you versus Morgan Freeman, you know who gets my vote. The set pieces in this film are absolutely amazing. When Cusack is trying to outrun the mass destruction on the road, I mean, it's just one. It shows you why I think Emmerich, this director, is such a master at what he does. I mean, that sequence is done so perfectly. The only downside is that we're in CGI era. Independence Day was made when they weren't doing CGI, so it always rings just a little bit inauthentic because you're not looking at real things, you're looking at computer-generated images, but it's still done so well. And it's also, one thing that's surprising is that when you look at this production, it's all in the daylight when this stuff is happening. The same applies to the demise of Woody Harrelson, who's an interesting character, albeit a little bit over the top. It's all during complete daylight, and you see something so clearly. Usually when you do disaster-type sequences, it's shrouded in darkness, it's foggy. They play these things in complete clarity, and that's what separates it. It's almost a little too clear. It's almost a little bit too vivid, but it's admirable. You know, the whole approach, and I haven't seen destruction quite so elegant, possibly, as it was done before. Other things that I like about the film are the action scenes. Did I say the action scenes already? Characters are decent enough. One thing that I am glad that they did not succumb to, the original ending of the film. If you remember, the scientist character, I don't want to say his name. He's this lead actor of 12 Years a Slave. I cannot pronounce his name. It is Chiwetel Ejiofor. However the hell you say his name. But anyway, this British actor who plays American all the time and does it flawlessly, he has a relationship with his father. His father's on a cruise ship that's going to go under. Original ending? Guess what? The father and his friend turned out to be alive. I am so glad that it would have cheapened everything. It would have knocked this film from an 8 out of 10 down to a 6 out of 10 because it would have so cheapened the ending and the build-up and everything that happened before it that it would have almost negated what followed. I give this film an 8 out of 10. I think it was another example of terrific synchronization between plot and destruction. It's smarter than people give it credit for, even in its most absurd. These films are fantasy, and it's all what a disaster film is. So, it's all what I enjoy in a disaster film. Now, what do you two happen to remember about this?
I do remember that certain parts with John Cusack were a little hokey, because I remember looking at him going, I guess it's hard because they're acting with probably total green screen effects and they're, pretty much making up complete scenarios of emotion. How would I react if literally the ground beneath me was falling? But I don't know. This part when he was in the trailer, when they're heading down, some of it was just a little inauthentic, I guess, as far as...
All of these movies have their degree of inauthenticity.
I guess. As a whole, I loved it.
The effects were great.
The effects were amazing. Like you said, it was very light as far as... Instead of most of the scenes being dark and kind of indistinguishable as far as what's going on, what's being destroyed. The one part where he's in the limo and the California shelf is breaking off.
That's what I was referring to. I was saying that whole sequence.
Yeah, and the reason that they ended up not dying at that one point is because he's stuck behind this old lady with a beehive, and she's la la la, has no idea what's going on. And where she ended up, the shelf in the street came up, and they ended up dying, and he had to sideswipe her where she was in the road.
If it wasn't for them, then they would have died.
Well, I'm sure there would have been some other, miracle that they
those movies
that
are
they
all
sidetracked
about
through.
miracles.
But
I just want to mention a couple of things from the chat rooms. Serene, this is the first time I'm seeing Serene in the chat room, is saying, what about the homeless guy giving tips to stay warm? Yes, homeless guy belongs on my list. Under crazy guy. in my Roland Emmerich diagram right here. I just didn't get the picture, but
That was,
he's absolutely the crazy guy
what was
that
his
Alphys.
name? What's his name?
And Timmy Packer was
It's
mentioned.
Eddie, right? Eddie.
And
Who in the chat room knows his name?
Isn't a disaster movie only the type of movies Nicolas Cage hasn't done yet? And we have some other comments. Sorry,
I thought every movie that Nicolas Cage did was a disaster.
I'm sorry, not keeping up completely with the chat room. Scale of 1 to 10 from what you remember?
I would give it a 7.
So, you like this lesson day after tomorrow? I like this one day after tomorrow.
I would say like an 8 or a 9.
Okay, 8 or 9. I'll give it.
Because I love Amanda Peet. I love her.
She offers nothing to the story.
She doesn't.
Other than her hair and
But
her eyes.
she's pretty.
Yeah.
Like you said. Like, you know, like the wife is always the pretty one. But I just love her. I don't
He's
know.
like, shake my head.
Okay. Well, we're about to head out to another commercial break. When we come back, you've got some trivia on tonight's movies. We've got a special review of Twister by our new addition to tonight's staff. And so come on back. We're gonna be having a lot more to discuss in our last 10 minutes.
Yay.
Paul Brown and the Killing Devils. Alternative progressive rock like you've never heard before. Over 1 million views on YouTube. New York City Village Voice says Paul is a gifted singer, songwriter, and musician with one of the best progressive rock bands on the planet. LA Underground Music Exchange calls him the only modern American band to cover every genre well. Pick up the albums Black Widow Tears, Red Spider, and The Wizard's Dawn, now on iTunes. And get to facebook.com/Killing Devils to keep up with the latest info. InRavio.com. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Hi, this is Tony.
And I'm Dan, and you're watching
Dear Dad.
Oh, wait, you're not watching it yet, but you should be every Thursday at our new time from
7 to 8.
That's the new time. Dear Dad on InRavio.com.
Only InRavio.com.
Where else could it be? Tune in.
On the internet.
InRavio.com.
Welcome back. What do you want? Anyway. Today we are now into our nerd news trivia, and we've got these two lovely sisters who are going to be telling us some fun facts about tonight's movies. Take it away, Sandra.
About Twister.
Yeah.
Okay, Twister. In the movie Twister, a recording of a camel's moan was slowed down and used as the sound of the tornado. Who would have thought?
Cam, yeah, the sound effects, sound design is like so particular. They think of so many unique things. Hand that over to you, sister. Okay, and our next bit of trivia is on Day After Tomorrow.
Day After Tomorrow. Roland Emmerich started writing the screenplay in the year 2000, but stopped after 9/11, thinking a disaster movie would be inappropriate after such a cataclysmic real-life event.
That's right, yeah, they thought it would have come out a lot earlier, but he's like, wait, I don't think the public's ready for it yet. So it was like 5 years delayed, 5+ years. He just put it down for like 5-something years. Okay, and what is our 2012 bit of trivia?
2012. The character Jackson Curtis is the real name of 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson spelled backwards. Director Roland Emmerich is a big fan of the rapper 50 Cent and wanted his name in the lead character after him.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine like a German director in his mid-50s, a white German director in his mid-50s, be like, you know, like listen to 50 cents. It's my man, you know? So he named the lead character, John Cusack's character, that. Okay, now Sandra, you saw, to my understanding, not Independence Day, Twister today.
Yes.
Now, I haven't seen Twister since I wanted to walk out of the theater as a kid.
Oh boy, here we go.
Here we go.
My hate
want
of
to
Twister.
hear-
I hate this movie.
I don't know. I don't hate Twister.
I hate it.
What, I have an accent now. So I want to hear your thoughts in revisiting Twister after all these years.
I love the movie. I really do. I don't know why. You keep asking me, what is it that you love about it?
Guilty pleasure, guilty pleasure.
Yeah, it's because it's just something that I've like just, it's just it's comforting to like watch. It reminds me of like, you know, I don't know, I guess when did it come out? A long time ago, right?
94 or 5. So, and after Independence Day, probably 97.
Yeah, it's like watching the Goonies. You just, how do you hate it? You just, it's like you know it's gonna happen. It's comforting. There's
Now,
something.
if the Goonies were chasing tornadoes, I would much more like this film. I would appreciate it much more.
Yeah, do you want Helen Hunt to do the truffle shuffle? Is that what you want? Is that what? Would you like that?
Philip Seymour
Is
Hoffman.
that what you want?
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
I'm leaving.
That's not a bad idea. Shuffle, shuffle, Philip.
That's it, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. We're both out of here.
He's like, stay to see.
So I'm going to tell you what my issues with this film. Jan de Bont is coming off of Twit. I haven't seen this film since it was first out, but Jan de Bont was coming off of Speed. It was his follow-up film to Speed. I love Speed. Even though Keanu Reeves is not great in that kind of role, it was decent. Everything about the film was really solid. This film he took on because he said, I want to do an action film that doesn't involve villains and doesn't involve, the same kind of killing. Cool, I love that concept. I love natural disaster. There's something about the characters, more so the supporting characters, that didn't quite do it for me like I would hope. Going off of my first viewing years ago, what I remember about the experience is what my brother drove me because I couldn't drive, and I was there with my best friend Jim, and we were side by side, and 15 minutes of the movie I'm like, Jim, you want to get out of here? And he's like, okay. And they're like, oh shoot, my brother's blocked us in. Hey, Chris, do you want to go? No, I like this. Damn it.
Elbow him in the face.
So we were stuck and we watched the rest of the film. I think it was just that the supporting characters didn't do it for me, and I didn't find them particularly funny or charming. I found it annoying that, for a film that espouses having no villains, you had a completely stock character in Cary Elwes is almost like a mustache-twirling villain. There's nothing dimensional about that guy. I wish they would have gotten someone like a Steve Buscemi, as the rival tornado chaser. And I thought they could have just done a lot better with the characters, and I would have responded to it more. I haven't seen it. If I were to rewatch it, it might be a whole new experience, but that was my gut feeling at the time. Take it away, Jojo.
I loved pretty much everything about this
How
movie.
could you?
I love the characters. I don't know. I just think Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton, they just like worked so well together, and you could just tell that and then he brings his the little Southern Belle sex therapist wife to be, and it was just so funny because she's sitting there following them, and they're like chasing these tornadoes, and she has no idea what she's in for, and then out of nowhere, she's in the car and she's like giving someone like sex advice, and and then out of nowhere she's just like, I gotta go, we got cows.
He's like, wait, I think that's another cow. No, that's the same cow.
Same cow. She just kept on like making these phone calls. She's like, no, he did not marry you for your,
This does ring a very, very vague bell.
See
and
this?
I remember my reaction.
Mr. Tone out after 15 minutes.
Okay, so we only got we got 5 minutes left in the show, so we're going to divide that between talking about Titan A.E. and the rest of Twister. Okay, so now, Jojo, what is it about Titan A.E.? What is it about Titan A.E. that you? What is it about Titan A.E.?
The control room does not like you just sitting that way.
In case you're wondering at home, I'm getting direction about my awkward postures. So what is it about Titan A.E. which I haven't seen? What is it about Titan A.E.
and I'm still hanging out with him.
That you respond to?
I love the nostalgia the like cell animation. It reminds me of like the Fox and the Hound Dog and older Disney movies with a twist, because this wasn't Disney. But all the characters were cast perfectly. Drew Barrymore, Matt Damon, who I actually loved in this, and I normally, like, he was playing almost himself. It was like almost like a quintessential, like, dumb construction worker, I guess you could say. Which he played, like almost like a surfer kind of, which I feel like, is kind of like reminiscent of what he would be. I don't know, maybe like in his earlier days. Nathan Lane, who is a great villain. Bill Pullman, Val Kilmer, who I love Val Kilmer.
What happened to him?
Who's there? Are you talking about Fat Man? Val Kilmer.
Oh my God, he's a beached whale. I know.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so sad.
He's like, oh,
Who else? Even Jim Brewer has this like tiny little part, which I cannot forget. John Leguizamo, he's like, man, why you be so mean to Goon?
This is sort of like a precursor to what he did in the Ice Age movies, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I never really thought about that. But
I gotta see this movie.
the visuals were great. The world blowing up in the first like 2 minutes is it's so awesome, and you have to go out and see this movie. The soundtrack, that pairing with them, going through these crazy atmospheres, and they just really did a great job with
Well,
it.
let's set the stage for this. This is the last film directed by Don Bluth. Don Bluth's earlier films have been things like The Black Cauldron. He was behind the Dragon's Lair game. He was behind Space Ace, games from the 80s that were animation. And he has a very distinct style. I remember trying this film and telling myself, I'll get back to it later. I've never given the film a fair shot. Damon was criticized for being very flat by a lot of critics. So you didn't feel that way.
No.
And I want to, and something obviously that I want to visit. Now, ladies, we are going to be heading out. We're going to be closing out this disastrous edition of Nerdgasm. Are there any final words that you have? And we're probably going to have to do another Masters of Disaster episode, by the way, because there's so many other films that we didn't cover.
So many.
So what film are you looking forward to seeing to most in the next few months?
Oh, there's just so many.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy is definitely one.
We're about a week and a half away from that.
I can't think.
Okay.
I never saw Godzilla. I kind of want to see that.
You
even
have
though-
to see it, it's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of want to see
You
that.
know, Godzilla, yeah, we reviewed that. There's another Masters of Disaster. This girl is going to be at the Huntington Arts Cinema coming up on the 31st.
I'm going
So
to be
there's
Lady
a
Macbeth.
Be there.
cool event that she's going to be part of. That's it for this week's edition of Nerdgasm. I thank you so much for joining us in the chat room. Next week, we're going to have a special horror edition where we're going to talk about things like both editions of Carrie and the Evil Dead movies and possibly The Purge. So you got to tune in for a nice fun episode next time. And thank you always for joining us. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys.